Hi guys, it's good to be back. Career Nuggets with Jane. So yes, I missed Monday's session. It was a busy weekend, and Monday I had to go to the embassy, and I'll take my son to get his passport. So, but it's good to be back. But I also think one of the delays was because today's topic is a difficult one for me as well. So sometimes rehashing some of those, personal experiences not that easy. But I decided to do it because I had a chat with one of you. Somebody reached out to me weeks ago. We had a chat yesterday, and this is what we talked about. And this is the second time I've had to have this discussion. And I thought, why don't we just talk about it? Why am I avoiding it? So today's topic, I got some notes, is managing a toxic boss. Yes, that's why it's difficult. And I've had some fair share. So sometimes recounting those stories are not as easy as they look. So let's talk about some of the signs. And please, not when not when I read one of the signs, make you can go ahead and say your boss is toxic. It's a combination of these signs, and when you see them consistently. So when the boss is always right, takes all the credit, takes all the shine from your job, talks you down, deliberately gives you bad ratings, demands for your time even when you're on vacation or leave, always has the final say, cannot be held accountable, turns down your ideas in your presence, but executes them when you have left. Destructive criticism, yes, you get a lot of that. And the impact most times is that you get delayed promotion, low self-esteem, you're constantly doubting yourself, no matter how confident you are, unwillingness to work, and sometimes you also get bitterness and, resentment start to creep in whenever you're in their presence or working with them. But first tip today will be what I shared with her, like the first steps before we talk about other nuggets. So I think the first tip I told her is, so this is the official answer. You will want to hear from me. You talk to HR. But I know most of us struggle with that. We struggle with that because sometimes HR could be in the picture somewhere and you're wondering, aren't they aware of what is happening to me? Or sometimes we feel that they're part of the systemic problem. So there are many reasons. I had my own personal reasons, but I think the first step was 3 things. I told her, what do you want to do? So what's your goal? And in my own experience, I had 3 goals I always throw out to myself. 1, you stay and try and turn things around. Not like you're going to change him, but turn things around for yourself. 2, you stay with a medium-term plan to leave. So you try looking for your exit. You try creating your exit strategy and have a medium-term plan to leave. And thirdly, you walk away. You leave. Go look for another job. Go somewhere else. Go to a better environment. Now, there are no guarantees that when you go to this new environment, you will also meet another toxic boss. But we are hoping that if organizational cultures are healthy, they will not keep such people in the system. So that's the 3 first I will say you have to think about. So even though you still choose to speak to HR, mentally you could have that because sometimes we don't know how it plays out when you've had the conversations with HR. But first step is what we discussed, and you could consider that if you're in that situation. First step of having your goal, first be at least decisive what you have got to do. Are you staying? Because then you have a strategy for staying. Are you staying in the short term with an exit strategy to leave? And that's because you've decided that it's not going to work in this culture. Even though it's not this boss, maybe I can't tolerate the culture. And thirdly, you just want to leave. You don't want to go through that mental turmoil of being in a very unhealthy relationship with your boss. So that's going to be first nugget for today. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Like, what would you do if you're in that situation? And if you're already in that situation, which of these options are you thinking about? Thank you guys, and see you on Friday.